All right, guys, welcome back. Before we get into today's video, I wanted to say a quick thank you to a brand new channel member, the first one in about a month, Hitman Racing Products. I'm not sure what kind of products he has, but go check him out. Really appreciate the channel membership. It is a Tier 3 membership as well. So, Hitman, we will be getting you a free t-shirt here soon. I did get your email. Also want to say a quick thank you to the rest of the names on the board for supporting this channel. It really does mean a lot. Now let's jump into today's topic here on the Rodman Rundown. All right, guys, welcome back. So today's topic, we are discussing the drivers that are not full-time with a national tour next year, that being either the High Limit Racing Series or the World of Outlaws Series, and the guys who we are expecting to see run the most races next year. Every year, it's a pretty big topic of discussion as to which driver ran the most races, what their money per race ended up being, right? Over the last couple of years, we've seen some guys run a ton of races. And this year, as you can tell on the board, there are quite a few guys that are pretty ambitious that they're going to try and get over 100 races in the books, whether that's in the 410. Some of them have a mix between 410 and 360, but most of them are with the 410. Now, last year, the guy that ran the most races out of everybody was Jacob Allen, but he did run with the High Limit Series, and so we'll cross him off for last year. So that would put Anthony Macri at the top of the list when it comes to the most races ran last year at 85. You go back to 2023, the most races ran was actually Justin Peck. He had 99 races in 2022, I missed a year there. 2023, it was Danny Dietrich and Buddy Kofoid. They had 87 races. So you had Macri with 85, Dietrich and Kofoid with 87, and then Peck with 99. And then in 2021, Justin Peck also ran the most races again at 92. So a couple of times you'll see 90s. Nobody there in the last couple of years has gotten to 100. But like I said, there's quite a few here that are trying to run 100, but then you have rainouts and all the other crazy stuff that goes on. So we'll see what the number ends up being for these guys. So let's jump into the video. Some of these guys have put out their schedules. Others we are guessing what they're going to be doing just based on, previous results from either a driver or a team, that maybe a new team is coming in with a new driver, and we can expect that driver to run more races than ever, which you'll see that a couple of times here on the board. Now, number one on the list is going to be Jacob Allen. Well, actually, it's not really him being number one because it's a three-way tie, actually. It's Jacob Allen, Danny Dietrich, and then I got to grab two magnets here because it is also Brock Zearfoss in the 3Z and the Rich Eichelberger number 8. So none of these guys are going to be on a national tour next year. We know Jacob Allen fell off the High Limit Tour. Brock Zearfoss fell off the Outlaw Tour. But right now, all three of these guys have over 100, if my math was right, over 110 races on their schedule. Dietrich and Jacob are already going. They ran last night at Volusia Speedway Park with the ASCS Series. Jacob blew up, and so he's not running for the rest of the weekend. So there goes two races off of his tally right there. But Dietrich and Allen already have one race in the books. Brock Zearfoss and the Rich Eichelberger car are going to be racing a little bit later on, I believe, in February for the Icebreaker at Lincoln. And so a pretty big schedule for all three of those drivers right there. And right now they are the leader of the clubhouse when it comes to trying to run the most races in 2025 in sprint car racing. Now, number 4 on the list is one that maybe surprised you or will surprise you, and that is going to be Landon Crawley. So another guy that ran the Outlaws last year and now is running a pick and choose schedule with Michael Dutcher Motorsports. Last year, he did it with Jason Sides, and it was released a few weeks ago, his entire schedule, and it has right at about 100 races on it. We do know, or at least I know, that Michael Dutcher and that team have a ton of equipment, and it looks like Crawley has brought in some different sponsors on the car. They released the paint scheme the other day, and so they've got the funding behind them and all that stuff. And we'll see what Landon Crawley can do. That's a lot of racing for a very young driver after coming off of his first ever season of 410 sprint car racing. They have a very, very ambitious schedule next year, and we'll see what the results look like for Crawley and Dutcher, because I think this is maybe the prelude to them maybe in 2026 trying to go on some kind of tour because they were already discussing it for 2025. It didn't end up working out. But 2026, this could be a little bit of a stepping stone to getting to that level. 100 races on the schedule for Landon Crawley. Now, next on our board here is going to be the Liebig Motorsports number 10, and that is, of course, driven by Ryan Timms. They have put out a schedule that I believe was at 86 races, so I just put 85 plus on the board for them. Going to be a lot of racing for Timms and Liebig, which is going to be the most that either party has ran between Tim's and Liebig Motorsports. Liebig, if I'm not mistaken, I would say they probably haven't ran more than 40 or 45 races ever in the existence of that team. And so this is going to be a big jump for both of those parties between Crawley or not Crawley, sorry, Tim's and Liebig. So we'll see what they can do. They're starting off at Volusia. I do know they're going to Las Vegas with High Limit. They're going over to Tulare. They're going to Bakersfield, all those first couple of West Coast races with High Limit Racing. And so it's going to be fun to watch them. They're going to be at quite a few of the midweek shows as well for High Limit. And so that is going to be a fun pairing. We just saw the paint scheme reveal. Looks a little bit like Tim's 5T car, but it's got the number 10 on it. And they have a very, very big schedule this year. And I am very excited to see what they would do in 2026 if things do go well here in 2025. Now, moving on to the bottom portion of the board here. And like I said, some of these guys, we do not know their schedule, but looking at past results, past seasons, we can expect to see 80-plus races for Anthony Macri. And he's going to be doing it all over the place. He's going to be venturing outside of PA. We saw him last year with High Limit go to Texas Motor Speedway. He got a win there. Obviously, he goes to all the races at Eldora and Knoxville, the Knoxville Nationals. I don't think he goes to Huset's. I don't remember seeing him at Huset's last year. But Macri goes to most of the big races. He runs quite a bit out there in the Midwest as well. We expect, that might be a low number. 80 might be low. It could be in the 90 range. We have not seen his schedule quite yet. But Macri, for the last couple of years, I already mentioned it. 2021, Macri, he's not really up there that high on the board. It doesn't look like it. 84 races in 2021. 2022, Anthony Macri had 93. 2023, he had 81. So last year he had 84. So you can expect mid-80s for Anthony Macri, and he's going to win a lot of them. So, that's what we've got for him. He's number 6 on our board here. Like I said, do not have a complete schedule for him quite yet. A guy that we do have a complete schedule for, though, and another maybe name you weren't expecting to see on this board, at 75-plus races, it is Caleb Johnson. He's going to be running the Team DGRD number 6K. They've got, I want to say, like 17 World of Outlaws races. Let me double-check my notes here. Caleb Johnson, 27 Outlaw shows, 6 High Limit shows. And they're going to fill in with a bunch of other stuff around Huset's, Knoxville area. So they've got a pretty big schedule going on. This team ran a few times together last year, and they liked each other. They thought things were going well, and so they made the big jump up here to a 75-plus race schedule for 2025. Caleb Johnson really took a huge leap forward last year, won that prelim night at the 360 Knoxville Nationals, got a 410 win under his belt now. And so this is a team I am very curious to see how it goes for them in 2025, especially on a very aggressive 75-plus race schedule. Now, another one that is a big surprise that you probably weren't expecting, because this one hasn't really been that well documented. I mean, it was put out on a personal Facebook account, not like a racing page or anything like that. But how about Tim Kaeding? Tim Kaeding is going to be doing 70-plus races between the Williams Motorsports number 0 and the Lunscher Motorsports number 3 car. The 0, as we know, is going to be on the West Coast, probably running all of the High Limit, all of the World of Outlaws shows, some NARC races here and there. And then the Lunscher car is, more known for being around the Huset's area. We'll see what kind of, maybe they go to Knoxville a little bit. They have not put out that schedule yet, but Tim Kaeding did put out on his Facebook page 70-plus races is the expected schedule for him next year between those two cars right there. So that is very interesting. I did not think that Tim Kaeding was going to be ramping up his schedule because, it seems like he's got a lot going on in the personal life as far as work and kid and all that stuff, right? So Tim Kaeding, we're going to be seeing him a lot on the road next year between those two race cars right there. So that is fun to see. Another one, maybe you forgot about this one, but this guy has 70-plus races on his wing schedule as well as he makes the transition. Brady Bacon in the Hink number 21H. He's also going to be driving the Chris Dyson number 20 car for about 15 to 20 shows. We know there's going to be 40 races in this car and about 15 to 20 in the other car. Was it 25 to 30? I think it's 25 to 30 in the 20 and then 40 races in the 21H. So Brady Bacon going to be doing a lot of traveling with the wing on top of the car. That 70-plus races right there is not even including what he's going to be doing without the wing on top of the car. So going to be a busy season for Brady Bacon. But this is one of the more exciting, I think, underrated things that we've seen in this offseason is Brady Bacon making that big move to a full-time wing sprint car schedule. And so I expect to see him win probably 4 or 5 races next year. I bet you he gets one again with the Outlaws at Hopstad, or he could probably sneak in there and get one with High Limit as well. Brady Bacon, before he was a big-time non-wing guy, was a wing guy. People seem to forget about that. But 70 races on the schedule for Brady Bacon is going to be pretty ambitious as well. And that's another guy that I'm interested to see what he does in 2026 as well. Now, moving on, the next 2 guys, we don't really have a schedule put out for them. But, looking at the past results for this team, we do know that they run a ton of races. And that is the Stamen Motorsports 23, which is now driven by Chase Dietz. Now, Chase Dietz himself has not ran a ton of races each season. I think he hasn't ran more than 40 or 50 shows in one single year. But over the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen Stamen Motorsports and Devin Borden run a very aggressive schedule in Central PA. They'll race a little bit outside of there as well. But I would not be surprised to see this number be a little bit low. 65 plus is what I have written on the board. If we look back to last year, Devin Borden, he had 73 races on his schedule last year. A couple of those did come with the Grove Racing 45, but for the majority of the time, it was with the Stamen 23. Now, I'm curious to see what he had in 2023. Devin Borden, let's see here. He had 74 races last year. So they have been running in the mid-70 race schedule for the last 2 years, so you would expect to see Chase Dietz in this 23 car do the same thing next year. They have not put out a schedule quite yet from what I've seen, but it's going to be fun to see Chase Dietz kind of taking that next step in his career. He turned a lot of heads last year, especially during the Outlaw Swing in Central PA, and at the High Limit shows at Port Royal as well. He did very well. So very curious to see how this season goes for Stamen and Chase Dietz. Now, another team and a new driver as well that we could expect to see run a lot of races is going to be the 2KS with new driver Corey Eliason. Eliason is another guy that people don't realize runs a lot of races usually per year. Last season, Corey Eliason was 4th on the list with 80 races under his belt. 2023, he also ran a lot of races. Let me double check here on my sprintcarratings.com. He ran 73 races in 2023. Another year he ran 80. So Eliason usually runs a ton of races, and I think this team is trying to gear up for maybe a potential series run in the future. And they ran quite a bit last year with Chase Randall, with Danny Sams, with Hunter Schoenberg, and some other guys. And so I think they've got a pretty aggressive schedule. It has not been released quite yet, but would not be surprised to see it in that 65-plus range for TKS Motorsports and Corey Eliason next year. Now, the final guy we've got on the board, not even a guy. It's just a team, and they've got 2 drivers. I was messaging the crew chief today, that being Drew Warner. The Tarleton Motorsports 21 has 65-ish races planned next year between Tanner Holmes, who I believe has 30, which means that James McFadden will have about 35 races coming out or going with this team as well. So the Tarleton Motorsports 21 is going to be doing a lot of traveling. They're going to be in the Midwest quite a bit with both Tanner Holmes and James McFadden. And so that's going to be a pretty big leap for that team as well. I'm excited to see what they can do with Drew Warner as the new guy, or not the new guy, but as the guy on the wrenches. And then with the new drivers of Tanner Holmes and McFadden. Cole Macedo had a phenomenal year last year in that car, nearly won the NARC championship. Lost it, I believe, on like the last corner or something like that. So going to be a big year for Tarleton. Going to be a big year as well for Tanner Holmes as he's going to be running quite a few races with them and his own 18T. So those are the top 12, and I did want to put 2 bonus ones on the board here because we do not know what they're going to be doing next year. I don't even know where to put them at. But how about Emerson Axsom and how about Chase Randall? What are those 2 guys going to do? Because it's rumored that they both could go to a national tour here in 2025. Chase Randall, sounds like he could be going to High Limit. Emerson Axsom, if things go well in Volusia, he could go to the Outlaws. If not, he could still go to High Limit. Who knows? So if neither of those guys do a national tour, I would expect to see quite a few races for them in 2025, maybe in that 70, 65 plus range. So Emerson Axsom and Chase Randall, a little bonus here on the Rodman Rundown. So let me know your thoughts. Who do you think is going to have the most success out of all these guys on the board with wins and running top 5 and top 10? Let me know all of your thoughts and more down below. Thank you all so very much for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe. We're about 30 away now from 5,000. Really appreciate the support. We'll talk to you guys again here soon.